Yaminapo Arokrini man. Yere Abiye Hector Goma. Mingba Wakirike Radio. Anibo Omna Warima picking on last time. Wase Otoroko Bo Piki Duko Wasama Aroquang Bolo. Wasa Nechime. Say be go say. Che go say wa mimi won yao. Tatariye. Mina semina womana, remina womana. Me so kuma inisone ama belema dumo wanyana abiako. My karama ye. Mina mama digidikere upu apuma. Ini wapu kero kuma. Twa miena gben ye ini won se piki ineda ina frema bie chubia. Tare karama ye. Mine kreke besebe pakabo tumin mangba. Mina kubie ma jike wasisa se bibiogbo sobarabo frideki wengi mina mama ibibia gose. Ine nkarama ye bo mine na okwara poma deke wengari bifrema wakele won duko belema. Mingba ere na okwenbi abo anem mina bo Mrs. Data Phido. Sister Ibolasa. You're welcome, Auntie.
Arokirin me yaminafu.
Ibosa.
Doctor, Mama.
Right. Yewasake, let's tell us a few things about yourself. Just anything you want to share with your listeners from across the globe.
Yere data Phido. Budukwa barabu. And Riff Beresmawari boy. Yafiri ani radio firi. Radio na to me no kwan firi communications experts mini say chinye ane yafiri. Lagos arangame anokma amaibi gusti coalition me Wakirike say coalition me anafiri upma ibebel mame anigose abime sikmangba I busti anagboluma in anfremi wengi apma anagboluma anagose mingba bo piki doctor be no kwaye arokire nime.
Yeah, Baka. I was looking at your CV. I can see that you spent no less than 24 or more years at the African Radio Drama Association, where you are currently the executive director. I think you were programs director for 11 years and you've been executive director to date. So, Kele African Radio Drama Association, Chefere or Cheya Nanga Woyeye, what kind of work do you do there?
Okay. African Radio Drama Association, why are in short form, ARDA. Kok my son wa sake Nigeria bo fere mi wengi sake ane 1996 mi wa sake so ane boluma ane she ndane 24 years
Senior Korafinji.
One more last time, so that's not a small thing. I'm really proud of that. So it's one of the foremost development communication organizations in Nigeria. Development communication FIEMENA wa development, people's development, people's improvement, their life, improvement of people's lives, and so on. One more communicate. The one was you know, winning our Okwan Titima, Yesenidie, and all of that. And of course, if you remember why use why say, yedia and radio, TV, videos, dancing. We do live drama, live play. So whatever is appropriate for the audience is what we use, the methodology that we use to communicate development. And in development, Eric Dukokma, and Wachefia, that is health, livelihoods, people's livelihoods in a ferry. Kalawo menebere, iremini, awoye remini, in abofkamaye, different aspects of development topics. Meanwhile, men are interest here, So one case is CIA or remember why one within an affair when so that there will be an improvement of lives, So men are fair me. I don't know if that explains it, but we're a development communication organization.
Yeah, definitely does. Again, I was looking at your background. I noticed that in the 70s you were at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and then in the 80s you attended.
Bro, Mbreto Iduko Sarama in India, they rode boy. But cock my ear, that
yes,
I was in school in this.
Yes, I'm
I was in
emphasizing
university in the 70s.
I'm emphasizing the experience that we are sharing. This is coming from, we are bringing to our audience the wealth of experience. That is it.
Okay.
Yes, and then we were in the 80s, British Council Media School, as well as the University of California, Los Angeles Theater, and then in the 90s, John Hopkins University Center for Communication program. So yes, there's a wealth of experience, and I see Ada does quite a lot of work in the different regions of the country. Now, at a personal level, you've been very helpful to Wakirike Development Coalition because Ada sponsored the Wakirike Krikanokwen app. Ada puts a lot of money into the development of the app, the second review of the app, which was fantastic. And you've also provided a lot of support to starting the Wakirike Radio. Now, I believe that the Wakirike Radio is a potential game changer for Kirike Bese because of the power to inform, entertain, and educate our people. How do you see the Wakirike Radio bringing about this change in the mindset of the Wakirike people?
You're totally correct. You're very right that the Wakirike Radio has the potential, to be a game changer, really, in speaking of development of our community. Because community radios worldwide, all over the world, are, they are placed very close to the community. People can use their languages on it, and it gives the community a voice, because community radios are owned by the community, by their share, the way that they are set up. They should be owned by the community. And what that means is that it's a very, very valuable medium, or a very valuable tool for a community to express themselves, to give a voice to what their needs are, to discuss with each other, and find solutions to their problems all over the world. I mean, where the people have community radios, they've used them as a tool for their own self-analysis, self-development. In Nigeria, unfortunately, for years, we struggled to have licenses to establish community radios, but somehow, as usual, as is typical with us, we we like to act like the ostrich, and everybody's afraid that if communities had this very powerful tool, that they might use it to create havoc or to cause some crisis or whatever. So for years, government refused to grant licenses to communities to own their radio. And if you just step across the border to almost every country on West Africa, they have hundreds of community radios, because they have thought about it and they realize that it's a really, really important tool. And so we have started this radio. It's online right now. Hopefully we'll have a what do you call them?
Is it the FM or the digital?
Exactly. You have an FM radio or whatever. So right now we have the online radio, and I join I just advise every Wakirike people, every Wakirike person, to please tune in, register and tune in and support it. It's a wonderful tool. If you go to places like Mali, Niger, Ghana, small communities own their radio, and it gives them a voice. You're able to express yourself, express your culture, so your children understand what their culture is. They listen to their own music, they hear their language. It's very empowering, for people. It gives you an identity. It helps to give you an identity.
Okay. So that's great. Now, I would like us to have a review of what kind of passions do you have. What are the things that even if you're sleeping and they mentioned it, you mainly wake up from sleep and you just get on with it? What are your passions generally?
My passions, there are many. I'd say education was very important to me, even as a very, very young child. I wanted to go to school so badly. I wanted to read. I was able to learn to read before I even entered infant primary. By the age of 4, I was already reading. Wow. And I'm a voracious reader. So you could say that's a passion for me. I love conversations with people. I like people. I've been told that I collect people as human beings as a treasure. So I have a lot of friends, a lot of contacts, and I keep them. So it's a passion.
You're loyal to your friends.
Exactly. I believe in make new friends but keep the old. So I have friends that I grew up with right from primary school in Africa, and we're still really close. All my secondary school friends were close. My university friends were close. It's that kind of thing. So my passion is, to empower people, to see how to raise people, from sometimes it just requires just a little lift, a little help. So I believe that everyone should have an opportunity to have education. So for example, in my family, I may not give you money to do frivolous things, but if it's about your education, I'm in for it, because I know it can be a game changer, So in terms of passion, I think I'm living my passion, which is that I'm supporting development work. I'm doing development work, using communication, which is also one of the things that I enjoy, I love. So that's what I would say. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, definitely you did. Now let's come down to again come down to Cricket Bese. What are your hopes and your fears for Cricket Bese?
I think I'll start with the positive.
Okay.
My hope is that um, we've been gifted, by with a beautiful island, by God. I mean, in other parts of the world, a landmass like our hometown, say the mainland, or even some of the villages around, would be like resorts. There will be tourist attractions. Growing up in Okrika, I mean, it was a very beautiful place. You are surrounded completely by water, and you have the creeks and you know um, the like the salt water that surrounded us. I mean, it's coming at it. If you are coming from like Port Harcourt or whatever, it was always breathtaking for me. To look at the island from afar and approach it. So you can imagine, if you were a tourist, it would be a wonderful place. So I think that we should be grateful for our land, and learn how to protect it, how to take care of it, how to add value to it instead of just using it and discarding it or making it look like, you know, um, something that is not valuable, because it is. Today, if you go to Okrika, you see garbage heaps everywhere, a lot of plastic, thrown nilly-willy. It's like we are not grateful for the place that we're given. I think that we should be, because it's a beautiful land, and that God just chose to give us. So that's it's the beauty of the place. That's the positive. And then in terms of the negative, like I said, is that we have stopped really caring for the place. People can argue and say, no, we do, but it's in your action or inaction. It's how you note whether people value, something. So when I see trash thrown all over the place, it tells me that people they don't care. When I see how we're using and misusing the natural ecosystem, the surrounding of the place, we're reclaiming land anyhow. We're cutting down the mangroves, and we're polluting our waterways by throwing trash in. All of those things show me that we're not really appreciative of our beautiful land, and it can be beautiful. All we need is some vision, to start cleaning it up and investing on our lands, make it beautiful. Other people in other parts of the world, that's what they did with their lovely communities that God gave them. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like us to talk a bit. I know you have a passion also for the youth and how we can more or less have a reorientation of the mindset of the young people in Kirikabese. So how do you think we can approach that? One, using the beauty of radio, but beyond radio, what else can we do in terms of making a difference and having a reorientation of the mindset of the Wakirike youth?
Okay. You know, you are right. I have a passion for the youth on how we can develop them and how we can create a positive mindset in the youth. When you take the youth in Nigeria, in totality, there's a big problem, with our kind of education, which is I think something we borrowed from our colonial educational system. I'm not sure, where you're supposed to just go to school, learn, cram, pass exams, and for some reason you feel like it entitles you to have a better job, which is all true. However, there's a missing element, and which is community development. We are not we're not educated, or we're not taught the importance of contributing to your immediate community, as they do, for example, in America. In the United States, if you from primary school, the mindset is that you have to contribute something to your community. It could be as a young person going to an old people's homes and play with them or read to them or whatever. It could mean, cleaning up your immediate environment, but you have to add value to your immediate community. And it's important because if you from primary and high school, if you wanted to go to university, you have to in your essay, supporting essay, you have to show what you have done in terms of community work. In Nigeria, educational system does not emphasize that. So it's very, very selfish, self-centered, kind of education. The other day I was asking one of my nephews, why do you think, I'm emphasizing you go to school, and stay in school and do well and all that. He says, so I can finish and have a good job. I guess that's the normal answer that most young people will give you. And that's because of the kind of education that we're giving them, whereas it should be so that I'm equipped, to add value to my country, to my state, to my town, to my community. That's the benefit of a good education, so that you can add benefit somehow. You can add value, so that you can contribute. So in terms of the youth of Wakirike, coming back to our own youth, our educational system is not so wonderful, like I've explained. We need to probably use our radio programming, to inculcate in youth certain values, that are universally accepted as good, and dissuade them from those that they are picking up these days that seem wonderful, but they really are not. The selfish ones, the cheating, the emphasis on acquiring money and accumulating wealth and all of that. And maybe also share some of our history, our heroes, people, examples of people who are contributing and doing some wonderful things, people from our community that are doing great things. We can use radio to promote peace and dialogue and finding common grounds. All of the good things that young people can build, for themselves, and so that's what I'm thinking. When it comes to doing things, developing the youth, let's look at the poor educational curriculum and system that we have. If there isn't much we can do to improve that, then let's use our own efforts, our radio, our engagements with them to improve the way that they begin to reason, so that we'll have a better future, for our place, for our town.
Yeah, definitely.
For our clan. So I don't know, that's what I think. I think that we should educate our youth. If the school system isn't doing it, we should find other ways to do it. And luckily, we have this massive, formidable tool that we've started, the Wakirike radio. I see it as central in helping us to reach youth with education that will really improve them, that would guide them and point them to a change of mindset that would be better for everybody.
Okay, thanks for that. Yes, what about the voice of the Wakirike woman? What do you have to say about the voice of the Wakirike woman?
Well, that is so important. I'm glad that you picked that out. When you talk about Wakirike youth, for example, I guess the picture that one has, is like a young guy, a young boy. Hardly do people consider women or girls as youth when they're talking about generic youth. So it's good that we um, disaggregate it and bring them out. So what about women? I think that it's very important, to empower women, to engage with women, because when you look at any community at all, any community that's somewhat rural in its makeup, you find that there are more women. Women are mostly the ones that are left behind. Um, Most men would have taken off to the cities and other places to try and find work. Um, so you find poorer women who don't have prospects. Hold on. Women, unemployed women, are the ones that are left behind back in the community. If you go to Africa, you find many more women than men. From Monday to Friday, for example, you find more women than men. So it's important for us to engage with them and empower them to be able to start speaking, and contributing their ideas for the development of our town, of our clan, of Wakirike. Because the way it is now, a lot of young people, a lot of women feel like their opinions don't count, or their thoughts, nobody wants to know what they think. We sort of have a male dominated society where kings and chiefs and all of that are men. So when you have them discussing important matters concerning the community, you find that they're mostly men. You would hardly find women. And I've been to some meetings like that, and the women will be standing outside, by the window, in Icheduka, in Chebe, from a distance. So I think that increasingly, if you engage with women and help them to start expressing their voices, expressing their thoughts and their feelings and so on, that they will get better at it, and then you can no longer stop them from talking and from contributing. And when you hear them, they're contributing quality ideas and so on, increasingly people will call them to participate and so on. And it's not any token position for women, like the treasurer or the, but
Assistant
really
Secretary.
but really asking women what they think, even if they are illiterate. After all, it's their lives, they are the experts of their own lives, So always ask women, make it a point to do so. And as you increasingly do that, then they'll get better at it, and they will join discussions, they will join analysis and prefer solutions, because everybody in the community ought to be able to contribute, their voices to the improvement of their community. That's what I think.
Okay, great. Now, I'll come to a question which is hypothetical, that if you were the chief executive of Wakirike, and the buck stopped with you, and money was not a rate limiting step. What will you do in your first year as chief executive of Wakirike Bese? And why would you do that?
Oh my goodness. That would be fun. If money was not an object. First
Yes.
of all, I think I would um, mobilize everybody, to join, the new direction that I would give, the town, and probably start with maybe beautifying the town. I'd like to do that even now, if I could, because I believe that when you give people um, a beautiful environment, somehow it raises their spirit. It gives them hope. Um, it gives them a love for their environment, for their community, and they actually begin to see a future. You know, so it's not a highfalutin idea to beautify your environment. I think that it's something that touches the soul of people and makes them to feel like there's a purpose. They feel like, okay, I'm seen as somebody that is worthy. You know, that's why I have this beauty around me. You know, so I'd like to do that. Then next thing I would like to do is to improve the education of or the school systems. Provide better schools, better facilities in schools, teachers, good teachers. So the Wakirike said children will be some of the best educated children. And you remember the criticism I had of our educational system, which is, selfish, which is based on, study, pass exams, and, as an individual, rather than looking at how your education can benefit your immediate environment. So we'll change all of that, have very, very good education system. And then, I look at our town, our whole Okrike clan, Wakirike clan, and we're so blessed. We have we could have such wonderful aquatic aquaculture. We could have fish, shellfish, you name it, we have it. So maybe based on our environment, develop some livelihood systems that are sustainable, that will keep the place going. And remember, I also mentioned that we could make our town to be a tourist haven. And remember, once people come, they will spend money. They will be able to have a sustainable means of livelihood for people, because they could do crafts, arts, all kinds of things that would impress tourists and generate livelihoods for individuals in the community. So what I envision for our clan is, for people not to go away so much because there is nothing in the community, but instead that it attracts people to come back, to build it and make it better.
Yeah.
So if I had money, those are the things I would do, I think. And I believe that, once the place starts popping, some of these divisive things that we're doing, people will drop them, if they see um, a just and equitable, distribution of resources, and there's an opportunity for everybody. I think that some of these divisive things that we hold on to from so many years ago would cease to mean anything, especially to the youth, to millennials and people that are being born these days. What do they care about? Where Jew and all of that? Who has it helped?
True.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking. I think that
Okay.
people who have money should please start envisioning how they can come back home and do, even if it's one small thing that you start with. We can start small, in our small corners, and see how we can improve our communities so that people don't run to Port Harcourt. I mean, Port Harcourt is not finer than Okrika, really. So one can actually build a beautiful house in Okrika and go to work, in Port Harcourt. So you don't have to go to Port Harcourt. We need to do better.
Definitely. I would like to round up by taking you back in time. I know you mentioned before we got started about spending your first 12 years in Okrika. Can you just say a few things about childhood and growing up in Okrika, as they say in the good old days?
Oh boy, I tell you, that town used to be very sweet, too. It was very, very, very sweet. I'm telling you. I mean, let me start by telling you that by Friday afternoon, all roads led home. You see somebody in Port Harcourt, they're all rushing home. Like when So the weekends Okrika will be popping. Really nice place, very nice place. I also explained to you how beautiful, the island used to seem to me. When you're coming from outside and you can just see, once you come out of the creek and you can see Okrika, it's so beautiful. And you will see the church, our St. Peter's Church steeple, It's one of the most breathtaking things that I ever saw, And let me also tell you something. If you're coming from Port Harcourt, you find the creeks, you have the creeks, and like a maze of creeks. It's not so much like that anymore because of course the land has been reclaimed, So you come through the creeks and then you come out in the open sea just before you get to like Kaliu and all those kind of places.
Okay.
So in those creeks, do you know what we used to see? We will see antelopes, we'll see deer, we'll see monkeys.
Wow.
There was one day, the engine boat was just coming, and usually when you take the creek, you're not allowed to speed. And I didn't know why, but I'll tell you why in a minute because I've since found out why. As a child, every engine boat, when they come into the creek, they will cut their engine, and it will go to very, 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 very quietly until you come out into the open sea. Then they will take up speed. So as we just entered the creek, what did we find? A big antelope with the antler.
Wow.
And he was just staring at us like that. He was so scared. He was just, it's like a deer caught, with the car lights or something. He was just standing there looking. It's not this, if it was these days of instant cameras, I would have had some pictures. It was such a breathtaking view, So when I talk about tourism, those are some of the natural resources that we had that are now extinct. Okay, so growing up in Okrika, what did we do? Went to school and went to church, played with your friends, and you belong to maybe small societies or groups, where you did small dance groups and stuff like that you can perform at Christmas. Some young men would be in the masquerade groups and we would be in the dance groups and so on. So it was really fun and beautiful, to be honest. And what else can I tell you? We had the market, and you can get all kinds of food, and even during the war, when they took all our what do you call our paddles, we were still able to, catch fish and pick shellfish, and so we didn't suffer from malnutrition like other people, in other parts of the East. So we're a really blessed land. It was beautiful, and we used to call it Okrika London, because
Yes.
the air was fresh, the food was good, and there was culture, there was a lot going. And okay, so let me explain why the engine boats used to go, cut their engine and go quiet in the creeks. The reason is because that's where the fish and the shellfish spawn. That's where they go lay their eggs.
Okay.
In the calm, quiet, cool waters.
Wow.
That's where they lay their eggs. But these days, with the flying boats going for the turbulence, it's probably why we no longer have enough fish in our environment.
Well,
Because in
plus
those days,
the oil pollution in the waters.
That's too. That's too. But it's also the wild way that we use
The
we
boats.
run through because the fish needs quiet places to lay their eggs. They come from the big sea, from the ocean and the sea, and they go into the quiet um, tributaries, the creeks to lay their eggs. And so from there, these fish will grow bigger and then go into the big sea. And as fishermen, there were rules. There were rules that they had to abide by. And it doesn't matter if anybody is watching you. Growing up, this I know. All fishermen, they kind of self-policed themselves. There's a certain kind of nets you're not allowed to use.
Okay.
You're not allowed to use nets that were too tiny, because that means that you catch everything. They call it almost like sweeping the floor of the sea, which is something shameful. If you're a fisherman worth your salt, you're not supposed to do that, because they believed in sustainability. They believed in taking care of the future. So you're not supposed to go sweep the floor of the sea. Catch all the small fish and everything. So your net hole has to be a certain size.
Okay.
So that determines the kind of fish that you're catching. Now, during the season for tutu, it's a different thing. Tutu, which is the tiny fish. But you're not supposed to catch other tiny fish. You're supposed to throw them back into the water so that they can grow, and so you can continue to have food in the future. So you're not supposed to overfish your water. You're not supposed to kill your future by finishing everything today.
True.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, because I
those are
see
some of
sometimes people throw fish back into the seas as if these ones.
Exactly. So there's nobody policing you. Nobody's telling you to do it. You just knew that that's what you should do. But you see how our values have changed today.
Yeah.
We're all for today. Let's eat today. Nobody's thinking about, sustainability. Nobody's thinking about leaving some for tomorrow, for your children and their children tomorrow.
True.
You're just worried about just finishing doing it today for yourself, for your own satisfaction. So those are some of the things we should be talking about. Those values that we had when we were growing up. So I hope that lets you see just a little bit of how special Okrika was, when I was growing up.
Thank you so much, Auntie. That has really been great. I'm Menapo, but I've been speaking to dear Auntie, Phido Nifibrasima, who is the Executive Director of the African Radio Drama Association. She gave us a slight, look into her time growing up in Okrika, in Okrika, London, as it were, it was called at the time. We talked about a few things, talked about young people, how we can use the Wakirike radio to help to reorientate our young people. Mentioned the importance of involving our women, that we need to ask the women and not be tokenistic. We need to ask the women and get them involved in the deep part of whatever we are doing, not from outside via the window when discussions are being held. Men, and we need to make our armor beautiful. We need to improve education, attract people to come back to our set. And I really want to say, Mena Mena Bomiabaka, Tamna Belema. Thank you so much for being part of our discussion today.
Thank you so much for having me. Okay. Ode nas me.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye. And God bless.
Bye.